Welcome back to Mariners Extra Innings. You are looking live inside Rogers Center, the old Sky Dome in Toronto. The Mariners are just about to take batting practice as we approach first pitch of a deciding Game 7 of the American League Championship Series. First pitch at 5:08 today. To break this matchup down, Aaron Levine chatted with John Morosi from MLB Network at Sky Dome just a short time ago.
We're now joined by John Morosi of MLB Network. John, it's only appropriate we're here in a Game 7. You've been with this team and following the series all the way back from the ALDS that went all 5 games, 15 innings. Then you had an ALCS Game 7 tonight.
Aaron, we have gone to the limit, my friend. We are here. The first ever Game 7 in Mariner history, only the second Game 7 in Blue Jays history. No matter which team wins tonight, they'll be able to say they've won a Game 7 for the first ever, because the Blue Jays, the only previous occasion they lost to the Royals back in 1985, 40 years ago this week.
Wow.
At Exhibition Stadium, which of course is now where the TFC football team, soccer team plays, over at Exhibition Stadium on the lake. Game time temperature that day, Aaron, 44 degrees Fahrenheit.
Wow.
It was a little chilly. So we're grateful for the roof and for a great matchup tonight.
Yeah, very grateful for the roof. How do you see this game playing out? After everything we've seen, the ups and downs and the roller coaster ride of emotions that so many fans have been through, how is this one going to play out tonight?
It's a great question. My favorite answer is I don't know, and we'll find out together, which is what I love doing here in a game like this. What I do think is this: the early action has real momentum. And Mitch Garver talked about that last night in the clubhouse. Of course, he played in the Game 7 just 2 years ago with Texas. They won. And he said the Corey Seager home run in that game early set the tone.
Yep.
And it is immeasurable the way in which early offense can translate. Now, I recall seeing a Game 7 in St. Louis, Rangers, Cardinals, where Texas, after that crushing loss in Game 6, they came out and took a lead in Game 7. They eventually lost. Also the same case with the Chicago Cubs after the Bartman game. They had a lead Game 7 the next day. They lost that game. After the Buckner game, the Red Sox had a lead early and lost that game. So you can't get too carried away with early runs and early happenings, although, as Mitch Garver said to me just last night, it does have an effect on you as a player.
There are so many fans out there that say, well, George Kirby got shelled the last time. We had this exact same matchup. The Mariners lost 13-4. They have no chance today. What do you think George Kirby does tonight in terms of a turnaround from his last start? Because he had never given up 8 runs in a playoff game before.
Aaron, there was one inning where he could not locate his fastball. Period.
Yeah.
End of story, from my opinion. Outside of that inning, it was a fairly well-balanced game. And there was this one inning where every fastball, it seemed, was up, and the Blue Jays got very comfortable. Jimenez, and it started at the bottom third of the lineup. And Aaron, that to me is something we have to watch tonight. The Mariners need a bit more of a thrust from the bottom part of their lineup. They have really gotten far in these playoffs with a lot of Raleigh, Rodriguez, Polanco, Suarez, of course, in the most recent home game. But the second half of the lineup, and of course Naylor we should mention, but the second half of the lineup has not given them that momentum turn to where when the lower third gets on base and then flips the lineup over, that's when you get the big inning. And that is why the Blue Jays won Game 3 and Game 4. And again, in the same conversation with Mitch Garver last night, Aaron, he made the point that we haven't played our best baseball yet. What he was referring to was not getting enough building rallies, momentum rallies. One strike is fine. Strike meaning a home run. The quick strike offense works, but in some ways you win a lot of postseason games with rallies that build upon themselves, and the Mariners have not really done that a lot in these playoffs.
Well, finally, to your point, you have Victor Robles, bottom of the lineup now. Julio's still leading off. He's been 0 for 10 in the leadoff spot the last 3 games. Are you surprised they kept Julio there today?
Not really. And the reason is, in a game like this, you want to see your best players get their most plate appearances. And ultimately, with that arrangement, Julio might get one more chance to bat. I would line up your very best players at the top and make sure that they get as many great plate appearances as possible. The last thing you want is for this game to end with Julio on deck or Cal on deck, Polanco on deck. You want to make sure that those hitters have as many opportunities opportunities as possible. So I think right now, Aaron, I'm good with that lineup. And I think, too, the bullpen conversation, I still think advantages the Mariners a bit. They like Munoz and Brash and Brian Wu potentially in the situation better than the analogous players, I believe, on the Toronto side. So the longer this game stays tight, the Mariners have had to win a lot of tight games. The Jays really haven't. That could be advantage Seattle.
I think this is definitely going to be a tight game. And when you take a look at the spectrum of all the Game 7 winner-take-all games in the past, 30% of them have been determined by just one run. So
sign us up.
Exactly.
We love it. Stay up late with us. Watch the game.
John Morosi, check him out on social media at John Morosi. Thanks so much for your time.
Thanks,
and we'll see you on the MLB Network as well.
Sounds great. Enjoy. Thanks so much.
Back to you.
All right, so as we get ready for this one, and obviously George Kirby going up against Shane Bieber. Shane Bieber coming over from Cleveland late in the season after the trade deadline, and this is exactly why Toronto traded for this guy, because they want him in this spot. Bieber has never pitched in a deciding Game 7 in his career, but there are two guys in particular in the Mariner lineup, and one of them towards the bottom of the order that have figured out Bieber to this point in limited action in their career. J.P. Crawford is 7 for 14 career, a .500 batting average against Bieber. Now, again, as we've been mentioning, this could easily be a game where the starters come out in droves, and it's going to be a bullpen game played by starters. And if I would have told you a month and a half ago that we would have Kirby starting, the potential of seeing Wu, and then we would see, potentially Luis Castillo, you would say, well, of course we're going to go ahead and win it. And this is a look at what the captain, J.P. Crawford, has done against Shane Bieber his entire career. Yeah, 500 average against him. Jorge Polanco as well, familiar against him. He's 9 for 32 lifetime against Shane Bieber, at 281 career average.
And with Crawford in there, you got to just think this guy's going to explode at some time. He's a pretty good at plate visit. He gets up there and he battles. If you notice, he gets behind in the count and he's down 0-2 and he just battles it out. And sometimes he comes up with the walk. But these last couple series, it's been kind of tough to watch sometimes because you know he can do it. And you know he's going to explode. So we know we need to get him going tonight. Okay, there is so much more to come. We are going to check back in with Lauren Helmbrecht and Chris Swanson. They're going to talk about reaction from Cal Raleigh from last night, and we're also going to talk about that matchup with George Kirby. So much more coming here as Mariners face the Blue Jays in a winner-take-all Game 7 from Rogers Center in Toronto. Extra Innings will be right back.
All right, welcome back to Mariners Extra Innings as we get set for a historic winner-take-all Game 7. First pitch 5:08, and a game that you will see right here on Fox 13. Bill Wixie, Aaron Mayovsky in the studio with you. And when you get into a situation like this, for us as fans, I mean, it's heart palpitations.
Yeah.
I can only imagine what the players are going through right now. But in these situations, you want your superstar players to be superstars. And one of them, obviously, Cal Raleigh, who could be the MVP for the American League this season, with more on his outlook on this historic Game 7. Lauren and Chris have that.
Well, Bill, you want your MVP to perform like an MVP, and in Game 6 last night, Cal Raleigh did not do that. He was 0 for 4 with 3 strikeouts, and he had a throwing error in the field that led to Vladimir Guerrero Jr.'s final score for the Blue Jays. It was not the performance that we expect to see, Chris, from Raleigh, and we haven't seen one from him like that this postseason.
No, in fact, all 5 games against Detroit, he got a hit in each of those games in that series. In fact, every game until last night, he had at least reached base. The only games he didn't have hits in last night, and then he also was hitless in Game 2 at Toronto, Game 4 in Seattle. So he is usually on base, creating havoc, even in those 2 games I just mentioned earlier in the series. He still drew a walk, got on base. His on-base percentage for the postseason is .400. You can't ask for much better than that. And when you had him up with bases loaded and 1 out, he grounded into that double play. A fly ball or a ball in the gap probably changes the complexion of that game dramatically. In his MVP season, what we hope will be an MVP season, has happened for a reason. As you watch these highlights of him clubbing balls over outfield walls in darn near every stadium in the American League and much of the National League as well this year. you got to imagine he will show up tonight ready to go.
And if you talk to any professional athlete like you and I have, Chris, they're the kind of people that say, look, I don't care if I personally win the MVP if my team loses in a game where I don't do well. Yeah. That's the mentality that comes from players up and down professional sports. And Cal Raleigh is the kind of guy who feels that way. He knows that he wants to step up in this game because especially he was not able to perform very well in Game 6. Here's what he had to say.
Cal, thoughts on a winner-take-all Game 7 tomorrow?
Excited for the opportunity. So, I think it's a, like I said, it's a great opportunity, and obviously, flush this one. Been here before in the round before, so try to take that to our advantage and come out ready to go tomorrow.
Can you take anything from the round before, the way you guys went into that game, won that game, came here with that momentum into this one?
Yeah, I just think it's all hands on deck kind of situation. So everybody will be excited and ready to go for that challenge. Just about going out there and controlling your emotions and trying to control those at bats and those pitches one by one.
Is that the biggest challenge in a game of that magnitude? Is the emotional side of things, mental side of things?
Yeah, I think in general the postseason is everything's obviously highlighted. It's a lot more. It just means more every pitch does. So, but I think we've done it enough this year that I think the guys will be ready and up for the challenge. So.
Obviously, things didn't.
That was Mariners catcher Cal Raleigh speaking to Aaron Levine after the loss last night in Game 6. He'll need to step up, and Kirby, who's starting the game, will also need to step up, Chris.
Yeah, and a lot of these guys, when you talk to them, what do you do different? What do you do different? A lot of the times what they'll say is, I want to do the same thing. I want to stay in my routine. I want to stay with what got you there. Gabe Spire talked about that after the loss in Game 4. He was asking, what are you going to do differently? And he said, I don't think we do anything differently. So if you're George Kirby, you keep doing what you're doing here. Just, getting fastballs, working the high zone against a lot of these guys that worked for him all season long.
And thanks to the Seattle Mariners PR staff who shared these stats with us, George Kirby has pitched in each of Seattle's last 3 potential series clinching or elimination games dating back to 2022. Seattle has been 2-1 in those games. Kirby has a 0.69 ERA in those matchups with 12 strikeouts and 1 walk. Of course, that is including his his starting appearance in Game 5 of the ALDS. Here is what Kirby had to say last night regarding his start in Game 7.
George, was it mean to you to get the call to take the ball for a Game 7?
Super honored. Gonna go out there and give my best.
Any questions? Yes, Ben in the back.
Hey, George. Vlad Jr. has been a big presence in this series. I just wonder what your mindset is going into him in a potential Game 7 here.
Yeah, he's a good hitter. We have ideas how to attack him, and we just gotta get inside a little bit, make him feel comfortable, or so.
Far right, your left, George.
George, it's well documented you have experience in these kind of elimination games. How does that give you confidence going into tomorrow?
Yeah, I love pitching under pressure, and I'm super glad I'm able to get Game 7, so yeah.
Yes.
George, what did you learn about their lineup when you faced them in Game 3?
They're aggressive. You got to hit your spots and, not get too, mix your pitches a lot. Make sure you get ahead.
Game plan, George.
That was George Kirby speaking last night ahead of his Game 7 start today against the Blue Jays. Chris, George not super great on the road this season, a 5.16 regular season road ERA. I'm hoping that the Mariners get furious George for Game 7.
Yeah, exactly. That's who you want him worked up, I guess you could say. He's a man of few words. He usually kind of does his speaking with his right arm, I guess you could say.
And so Kirby will be facing off against Shane Bieber, who's making the start for the Blue Jays today. Like we said earlier in the show, though, the Mariners have lots of guys ready in relief to come in, including starting pitchers Luis Castillo, Brian Wu, and Bryce Miller. Aaron and Bill?
Yeah, guys, when you talk about George Kirby and you talk about what he did against George Springer, I mean, he rebounded right away, right? He came back, he thought about it. We're all human. We make mistakes out there, and we're talking about Cal Raleigh making an error, and he usually doesn't do that. But again, is tonight a look at how they really step up out there?
Well, let's hope. Let's hope they learn something from what happened in Game 3. George Kirby can go out there, throw strikes, throw hard, hit that high zone as he does, and he should be tough. But then again, it's going to be a very short leash with everything on the line tonight.
Yeah, for sure. And who knows that more is Dan Wilson, manager Dan Wilson. He's been in tough situations. I don't know if that guy's aged over the last series, but you look at him in the dugout and you see him there going, we're going to hear from him coming up and what he had to say ahead of this big ALCS Game 7 here. More extra innings coming your way after the break.
The Mariners in Toronto for Game 7 of the American League Championship Series as we continue to get you prepped for it here on Mariners Extra Innings, and as they begin to take their batting practice hacks in the cage, taking a look at the Vegas odds for this Game 7 in Toronto. The over-under for total runs in this one set at 7.5. The Mariners a 1.5 run underdogs coming into this, but what else would they be? The Mariners, are always underdogs, aren't they? Especially on the road in Toronto. One way to overcome that home field advantage for the Mariners, get on the board and shut that crowd up quick.
Yeah, just silence them. And Bill, this is the 174th game of the season. Is it weird to think about that?
That's crazy to think. And you add in all the spring games, right. And I mean, these guys have played almost 200 baseball games at this point. And you think about Cal Raleigh as well. I mean, being behind the plate and having to take all those foul tips, all those at-bats, hitting all those home runs over so many games. I mean, the fatigue is definitely a factor for both teams coming in.
Yeah, I don't know how he does it up and down and up and down. He's got so much going on, whether he's calling the game, talking to the pitcher, the runners, figuring out what's going to happen. Who knows a little bit about that is Dan Wilson. He's been around the game for a long time, and we had a chance to catch up with him just a little bit ago. Here's what he had to say.
Lineup question, because you don't usually change it up too often, but you got a little different look in there today. What kind of went into bringing Victor back in and moving some guys around?
Yeah, I mean, really, Victor's just the only change, and looking at how he has swung the bat, and I think more or less the energy he brings to our club and the energy he brings to the lineup, and some of the things he can do on the bases and whatnot. So a chance to get him in there today, and kind of again make a little bit of an adjustment, change things up a little bit.
Going to the front left here, Dan.
Dan, a lot of your guys have talked about embracing the pressure and the expectations of the stakes. I know that might be stressful to do at times, especially from your vantage point, but why can that be beneficial to have that mentality?
Yeah, I mean, I think, it's number one, it's undeniable. I mean, there is, that it does exist, and you're not human if you don't feel some of that, for a Game 7. We've kind of gone through it in Game 5, and we talked about understanding it and at least acknowledging that there's something on the line, and then being able to channel that in the right direction, I think, is key. And, these guys have done that all season long. We've been in situations, particularly down the stretch in September where you've kind of had to win. You had to win that night, and I think these guys have developed a good strategy on how to deal with that. And so that's all part of embracing what's ahead of us. And tonight, Game 7, it's an incredible opportunity, and I think these guys see that for that, and we'll go out there and do what they do.
Go to Brady in the middle.
Dan, did you give any consideration to starting Brian at all today? And if you bring him in relief, would you do so at the beginning of an inning? Could you see him in the middle of an inning? How would you see him being used?
Yeah, I think, this was George's game tonight. I think, that's where we had kind of gone all along. And in terms of the bullpen tonight, we say all hands on deck. It's definitely that tonight. We'll have just about everybody down there, just about everybody available. So, I think how we use them, how it looks, will depend largely on how the game rolls out. But I think that the thing that is the most exciting is just the guys want the ball. They want to be in there. They want to be the guy to be in the moment, and that's we've got a bullpen full of guys that want that, and that's the good news.
Mariner skipper Dan Wilson just a short time ago, and he did address a slight tweak in the lineup.
Yeah.
The Mariners moving Josh Naylor up one spot to the 3-hole, dropping the DH Jorge Polanco to the cleanup spot. Naylor, by the way, 15 for 31, 3 home runs, and has multi-hit games over his past 8 games. So he is swinging a hot bat for the Mariners right now.
And let's hope he continues to do it here in his hometown area almost. So
right,
it's kind of nice when he hits it and he gives them a sign like, thanks.
We did see Addison Barger, the Bellevue kid, hit one out of the park last night, and that was kind of a dagger last night. So hoping to flip the script once again in this deciding Game 7 in Toronto.
Yeah, it will definitely be interesting to see the pitching matchups and how far they go and how deep these starters can go and get into, when they got a call in the bullpen. Everyone in Seattle has been talking about the Brian Woon. You saw Dan Wilson talking about it just ever so slightly, though.
He is definitely available. I mean, we could see anybody coming out of the bullpen.
All right, we have so much more coming our way, including checking back in with Aaron Levine and Curtis when we come back on the other side of the break here. Mariners face the Blue Jays in winner-take-all Game 7. Extra Innings continues in just a bit.